Hello, algebra students. So today we're going to go over a third method of solving equations, systems of equations, and this method is by using elimination. So we have two different objectives today. Oops, sorry. Our first objective is to solve systems by adding or subtracting. And our second objective is to multiply first when solving systems so we can add or subtract. Let's get started. So our first example is adding these equations. So we're going to solve using the elimination method. And I'm going to do this in blue just so it's a little bit clearer. We're going to solve this by using elimination. So essentially what we're going to do, is my marker not going to work? All right, let's try green, see if green works. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to add these two equations together so that we can eliminate either our x term or our y term. It doesn't matter which one you eliminate, but you want to make sure that it's going to eliminate. So in this case, if I add 5x plus 3x, I get 8x. Here we have negative 6y plus 6y. Well, that cancels out, and that gives us 0. And equals negative 32 plus 48 gives us 16. Had to think about it for a minute. Okay? So what we've done essentially is eliminated our y term, and we're only left with one term now, which we can rewrite this as 8x equals 16. Okay? So that's our first step, is just to add or subtract these two equations so that we can eliminate one of our terms. All right? Now that I have x by itself, I can solve. I'll divide by x to cancel out, or divide by 8 here. X equals 16 divided by 8 is 2. So that was the second step. This was step 1. And this was step 2. Okay. Now that I have this, I'm going to take it and plug it back into one of my two original equations here. It doesn't matter which one. It really is just about which one you think is going to be easier. I like this second one because there's no negatives in it. It's all positives. I think positives are just easier to work with. So over here I'm going to write 3 times 2. I just replaced x with 2 plus 6y equals 48. Now that I've done that, I can solve for y. So 3 times 2 is 6. 6 plus 6y equals 48. I'm going to get my term with the variable by itself, so I'm going to subtract 6 on both sides to cancel that out. Now to 6y equals 48 minus 6 is 42. Okay. Divide by 6, and 42 divided by 6 is 7. So y equals 7. Okay. So final answer written as a coordinate point would be 2, 7. Okay. And I could check my answers to make sure that these are correct and I didn't make a mistake somewhere between here and there. Again, this is step 3. By plugging x and y into my original two equations and seeing if they balance out. Okay. So example 2, multiplying one equation. So we're going to solve this using the elimination method again, but this time it's not going to be quite as easy for us. In the last equation, when we added them together, one of the variables canceled out right away, and we didn't have to do anything to the original equation in order to get them to cancel out. But that's not true in this case. In this case, if we add these together, there won't be either x or y that cancels out. So we have to multiply one of them for that to happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose to cancel out x. And you can choose either one, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to choose to cancel out x, and I'm going to multiply this whole top equation by 5, because 2 times 5 is 10, and then I can get them to cancel out. Okay? I'm going to multiply them by -5, because if this is positive, the opposite to make it 0 is negative. So we're going to multiply this whole equation by -5. So I'm going to rewrite these on the side over here. So -5 times 2 is -10x. -5 times 5y is -25y. And then -5 times -22 would be a positive 110. Okay, so I just multiplied this whole equation, and then this bottom one I'm just going to rewrite over here. All right. So if I add these two together now, this will cancel out and I'm left with 0. -25 plus 3 will give me -22y. And then 110 plus 22 will give me 132. Now that I've done this, I can just solve for y. So if this is -22, I'm going to divide by -22 on both sides. And y equals -6. So that's one of my answers. Multiplying this equation, so you would get that term that cancels out, was your first step. And then solving for your first variable is your second step. So our final third step is going to be to take this answer and plug it into one of my original two equations and solve for x. Doesn't really matter which one you use, they should both work. I'm going to use this top one. So 2x plus 5 times -6 equals -22. 2x plus 5 times 6 is -30. Oh, change that to -30 equals -22. Add 30 on both sides. 2x -22 plus 30 is 8. Divide by 2, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. So x equals 4. And we're just going to write that final answer as a coordinate point, 4, -6. And again, you could take these answers, x is 4, y is -6, plug them back into your equations and see if they balance out. I would really recommend doing this on a test. It's always good to check your work because you don't know if you made a mistake in these 3 steps that we've done. All right, our final example. So multiplying both equations. So we've seen a problem where one of the terms already cancels out and we didn't have to do anything to the equations. And we've seen a problem where we only had to multiply one term to get them to cancel out. But now that's not the case. Now we need to multiply both of these terms. And it really is something you'll get better with practice. It's just determining which one you want to cancel out. So we could do either of these. We could either try to solve for x or try to solve for y. Personally, I think trying to eliminate y is going to be a little bit easier just because one's already positive and one's already negative. And what's the thing they can multiply to? 6. So we can make these both 6. Well, what do we need to do? To make 2 6, we have to multiply it by 3. And to make 3 6, we have to multiply it by 2. Okay. So 3 times 4 is 12x. 3 times 2y is 6y. And 3 times 14 is 42. Okay. So the second one, 2 times 7x is 14x. 2 times negative 3y is negative 6y. And 2 times negative 8 is negative 16. Now our y term is in a position to cancel out when we add these together. So 12 plus 14 is 26x. This is 0 because this canceled out. And 42 plus negative 16 is 26. All right, so that was our first step. Our second step is going to be to solve for x. So if we have 26x equals 26, we can divide by 26 to cancel that out. And 26 divided by 26 is 1, so x equals 1. All right, we just need to solve for y to figure out what y is, and we're almost done. So we're going to take this answer and plug it into one of our original two equations. Okay? It doesn't matter which one you do. I'm going to do this top one because, again, it's all positive, and this is positive as well, so I think it's just going to be a little bit easier. But really, it's just a judgment call, whatever you want to do. So 4 times 1 plus 2y equals 14. 4 times 1 is 4. I'm going to subtract 4 on both sides to cancel that out. 2y equals 10. 14 minus 4 is 10. I'm going to divide by 2, which I'm going to move this over here because it's kind of hard to see. So 2y equals 10, divide by 2 on both sides, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. So, final answer, writing this as a coordinate point, 1, 5. Okay. And again, I could take these answers, x equals 1 and y equals 5, plug them into my equations and check to see if they balance out. I would really recommend doing that on a test just to make sure you didn't make a simple mistake somewhere from your starting point to your ending point. It's really easy to do, and you see me do it in class all the time. All right, so that's solving by elimination. We're going to practice this in class. Thank you.